Hello everyone and welcome to 11.5a, surface area of prisms and cylinders. And so the first thing we're going to do is write down our formula. We know that in a prism and in a cylinder, we have two bases, and then we have the walls that stand in between those bases. So we have LA plus 2B is going to be our formula. So make sure you have that copied down. That is going to be true of prisms. That is going to be true of cylinders. The only difference is that prisms are going to have polygon bases, where cylinders are going to have circular bases. And so what is surface area? Let's go back. What is surface area? The surface area of a shape is going to be the total area of all faces and curved surfaces of a 3D figure. So we've got this 3D figure. It's made up of polygons and some curved surfaces. The surface area is going to be how much area is calculated on each 2D shape that makes up the 3D shape. So just like we mentioned before, what is the lateral area? Well, the lateral area is going to be the walls. The lateral area is the sum of the areas of the lateral faces. And then what is a net? A net is going to be if you were to unfold a 3D figure, a diagram of a 3D figure unfolded. And so let's first look at prisms. So we have, whenever you have a rectangular prism, you have a length, a width, and a height. So let's go ahead and just put some numbers on this. I feel like this will make it a little bit easier if we go ahead and just assign some numbers. So let's say that this rectangular prism stands 10 meters tall, and let's say that it has a base that is going to be let's just say 7 meters by 15 meters. If we were to unfold this shape, so let's first look at its bases. Here are the bases in this shape, based on how it's sitting up and down. Now, any of these could be, we've talked about this before too, because it's a rectangular prism, we could have any pair of parallel faces could be the bases. But let's look at what's there. Here would be my two bases. These would be the rectangles. And then here would be the height between them. So if I treat those as my bases, I have a height of 10 meters, because that's a right angle right there. And that is going to be the vertical height between those two bases. And then I have some information. So let's unwrap that and let's draw that out. So what would that look like? These would be my bases. So let's go ahead and fill in those amounts. If I were to unwrap this figure and put it into its net, that would be a base. I have two of those bases. So that's where it comes from, the formula, two bases. But then I also have the walls. And so let's go ahead and fill in the amounts real quick. We've got, in those bases, it's a 15 by 7. So 15 by 7, and this is also going to be a 7 by 15. So there's my two bases. So this is a base, and this is a base. There's two of them. But then I also have the walls. And if I were to unwrap these walls, what would be the height of those walls all the way across? The height of those walls is going to be 10 meters. And so what are my other pieces going to be? Well, we know that this is a rectangle. This is also 15, this is also 7. And if I were to fill in those pieces, let's see what would happen. There would be 4 rectangular walls. So 1, 2, 3, 4. When you sketch these do not have to be drawn to scale. Okay, so my height is 10 meters. And what are all those individual pieces? Well, 7, 15, and 7 and 15. So 15, 7, 15, and 7. And so when you find the area of those walls, you could just do each individual piece. So like 15 times 10 is 150. 7 times 10 is 70. 15 times 10 is 150 again. And then 7 times 10 is 70. And you could add up all those pieces. 150 plus 70 plus 150 plus 70. But you could also go ahead and find the perimeter. So when you find the perimeter, we're saying, okay, well, that's the perimeter. And I have that amount stacked all the way up is going to form those lateral walls. So 150 plus 70 plus 150 plus 70. Let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be 440. But if I start by going 15 plus 7 plus 15 plus 7 and multiplying that by the height of 10, that's also going to give me 440. And so that is what a net is those walls unwrapped and the bases next to them. Okay, so what would be the surface area of this shape? You would just add together your two bases, and then you would add in all of your walls. So what is 7 times 15? Let's go ahead and do that. 7 times 15 gives me 105 for that area. This one would also be 105. And then what we just said was whenever we do 15 plus 7 plus 15 plus 7, that is 44 all the way across for that width, times 10 gives me 440 here. So it would be my surface area. My surface area would be those walls, which is 440, plus 2 of the bases, which is 2 times 105. So 440 plus 2 times 105 is going to give me a surface area of 650 meters squared. Okay, so we added together our 2 bases plus our walls. The same thing is true if you have any other kind of prism. And so let's just say that we start with we've got this shape. This is a triangle. And so here is a triangle. It's a right triangle. It appears to be a right triangle. We've got this triangle. And we've got the height between them. So that's going to be the vertical distance between the 2 bases, which is going to be this amount right here. So we're going to call that our height. Let's go ahead and assign some values here. Let's call this a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So it is going to be a right triangle. And let's say that the height is, I don't know, let's say that the height is 2.5. If I were to give the net of this figure, here is my shape, there's my triangle. So I'm going to color that one in light blue. I'm going to find the area of that triangle. There are 2 of those. There's 2 bases. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. There are 2 bases. They have side lengths of 3 and 4 and 5. So that's a base that has a side length of 3 and 4 and 5. So there's my 5, there's my 3, there's my 4. Okay, and then what is the height? So when I go to outline the shape of my walls, how many walls am I going to have? I'm going to have 3. I'm going to have a wall here, and then here, and then here in between those pieces. So there is my, if I unwrap it, there are my 3 walls. So 1, 2, 3. Again, those do not have to be drawn to scale. What is my height between those? It's going to be 2.5 for that entire, all of those heights. What are my side lengths going to be? Well, my side lengths are going to be 3 and 4 and 5. And so if I wanted to find the perimeter of this, this base, I could add all of those together. And then I'm going to have 4 plus 3 plus 5. 4 plus 3 plus 5. You could do 4 times 2.5, but 4 plus 3 plus 5 is going to give me 12. And so if I have 12 times 2.5, that is going to give me an area of 30. So let's just say that this is in meters. That would be 30 meters squared. And then whenever I have my right triangles, since this is a right triangle, I'm going to do 4 times 3 divided by 2. So what is the area of each of these bases? 6 meters squared. So I have 2 of those. So 6 meters squared, 6 meters squared. So when I go to find the surface area, that's going to be my lateral area plus 2 bases. That is going to be 12 for my walls plus 2 bases, which is going to be 2 times 6. So 12 plus 12 is going to give me a total surface area of 24 meters squared. And so drawing that net is going to help us out. And so we're going to do that a few times just to get used to that. So it says to name the figure, then solve for the lateral area and surface area. Round the answers to the nearest tenth. So the first thing I want you to do is to figure out which ones are the bases, or could be the bases. And then I want you to, let's go ahead and name the shape. So what is this shape going to be? This is a prism. It is going to be it's not a square prism because it's a 4 by 3. It is going to be a rectangular prism. So that is our 3D shape. It's a rectangular prism. And what we want to do now is find the surface area. So the surface area is going to be equal to the lateral area, which is the walls, plus 2 of the bases. So how do we find the lateral area? It is going to be our perimeter times our height plus 2 of the bases. So let's fill that in. What is the perimeter of the base? The perimeter of the base, this is a 4 by 3 rectangle, so this will be 4, this will be 3. How do you find the perimeter of that? You add all 4 of those together. So our perimeter is going to be 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3. Of course, that is going to give us a perimeter of 14 meters, or centimeters. We want to multiply that by our height between the bases, which is going to be 5 centimeters. Okay, so that gives me my walls. I go all the way around. I have 5 centimeters of height. I have a perimeter of 14. And we're going to do that plus 2 of the bases. Well, what's the area of the base? That is going to be a 4 by 3 rectangle, which gives me 2 bases that are 12 centimeters squared each. And so we're going to find our surface area by calculating this. So 14 times 5 gives me 70. So that is going to give me a lateral area of 70 centimeters squared. That's my walls. Plus 2 of the bases makes 24. So there's my walls. And then there's my 2 bases. When you add those together, 70 plus 24, that gives me a surface area of 74 centimeters squared. So what is my surface area? Surface area is, 94. 70 plus 24 gives me a surface area of 94 centimeters squared. So if I were to unwrap this box, if this were a box of Cheez-Its and I unwrapped the entire thing, that is exactly how much cardboard they would need to build that box. So let's look at this next shape. Well, what shape are the bases in this next shape? They're parallel and congruent. They're going to be right triangles. And so that is going to be a triangular prism when we name it. That's important because that's going to tell us which formula to use. So it's a triangular prism, and my height is going to be 6 centimeters between those 2 triangles. And so my surface area is going to be the lateral area plus the 2 bases. And so again, I'm going to do the perimeter times the height plus 2 of those bases. So what is my perimeter? Let's go ahead and find it. The perimeter of the base, this is a 3, 4 triangle. And so to find your hypotenuse, you can go 3 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. This is x. You end up getting square root of 25, which is just 5. So when I go to find the perimeter, I'm going to add 3 and 4 and 5 together. And so when you do that, you get 12 for my perimeter. What is my height between those bases? I have 6 centimeters between those bases. So that will give me the lateral area, but I also want to find the area of the bases. So what shape is the base? The base is a triangle. So I'm going to find the base height combo that forms a right angle. So it's going to be 3 times 4 divided by 2. So you do need to know your area formulas. So what is 3 times 4? It's 12. Divided by 2 is 6. And so when I go to find the lateral area, 12 times 6 is going to give me my lateral area. That's the walls. That's going to be the lateral area of 72 plus 12 for the bases. So 72 centimeters squared is how much area I have on my walls. The surface area is going to be 72 plus 12. And so you get 84 centimeters squared of surface area whenever you add those together. So I'm going to highlight those. That gives me my surface area of the entire shape. And then here's the area of just the surface area of just the walls. Okay, let's do that again. This shape has been turned on its side. So these are still my bases. They're still triangular bases. And so since it's been turned on its side, what is the height between those bases? It's going to be 5. Okay, and so we want to find our surface area. That's going to be equal to the lateral area, the walls, plus 2 bases. So it's going to be equal to the perimeter times the height plus 2 of those bases. And so when I do this, I want you to picture kind of what we did earlier. And y'all have not done a great job of drawing the nets out, which we're going to actually be doing in class. So like my net here would be, I have a shape. Let me go ahead and pause and do this because it's important. This is a 4-sided base. So I'm going to have 4 walls. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What was the height of that shape? The height of that shape was 5. And so what were the side lengths? The side lengths were 3 and 4 and then 3 and then 4. And so when you do 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4, that's what gives me that 14. And this next shape, again, we had a triangular base, so that gives me 3 walls. And so 3 walls, how tall did they stand each? 6 centimeters. And so what were my, that was the 3 and a 4 and a 5. So what was 3 plus 4 plus 5? That gave me the 12. 12 times 6 gave me the surface area of those walls. And then in this shape, let's go ahead and draw it out. This is a triangle, so I'm going to have a triangular, let's go ahead and write that out, triangular prism, just like before. And so when I go to draw out that net, I've got 3 walls coming out of those triangles. So 1, 2, 3. How tall do they stand each? 5 meters. Well, now I need to find my pieces. So this is going to be 10, this is going to be 6, but I need to find my missing piece. So I need to find my hypotenuse. So I'm going to put an x there. Well, 10 squared plus 6 squared gives me x squared. And so x is going to be equal to the square root of 136. So I'm going to leave that as the square root of 136. Okay. So when I go to find my perimeter, it's going to be 10 plus 6 plus the square root of 136. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in. Surface area is going to be equal to the perimeter, which is 10 plus 6 plus the square root of 136. We're going to have to round that in a second. times my height between them, which is 5. That gives me my walls, plus 2 of my bases. Well, what are my bases? My bases are triangles, so that's going to be 10 times 6 divided by 2. So I'm going to have 2 bases that are triangles that are 30 meters squared of area each. Okay. So what is my lateral area? It's going to be 10 plus 6 plus the square root of 136. And that is going to give me a number. I'm going to multiply that by 5. So my surface area is going to be about, or my lateral area, my wall is going to be about 138.3. And I'm going to add to that 60. So it's about 138.3 meters squared of walls plus the 60 meters squared of bases is going to give me about, I'm going to round it, 198.3 meters squared of surface area. There's my lateral area, my walls, and there's my surface area in total whenever we add our 2 bases. All right, so how are cylinders a little bit different? We've talked about cylinders before. Well, cylinders have bases that are circles. And so since you have a base that is a circle, you're not going to have polygon walls. You're going to have a curved wall. And so it's still LA plus 2B, but instead of having a perimeter in a circle, we call that perimeter of a circle, we call that the circumference. The outside of a circle is called the circumference. So what I'm going to be doing that's a little bit different is I'm not going to be working with finding perimeter. I'm going to be working with finding the circumference. Okay, how do we find the circumference? Circumference is always going to be 2 pi r. Okay, so we want to multiply that times the height. So nothing that new there. We've got our 2 bases. We've got our height between the 2 bases. And so what we're going to be doing whenever we unwrap that, we still have a shape. It's still going to be a rectangle because whenever you unwrap the walls of the shape and you draw your net, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a rectangle and you're going to have 2 circles. So this kind of looks like a division symbol. Here's my rectangle. We're still going to have our height. That's still going to be the height of the figure, the distance between the bases. But this piece right here is going to be my circumference. That's going to be my 2 pi r. Okay. How do we find the area of the bases? Well, the area of the bases is going to be pi r squared. That's how you find the area of a the area of a circle. So there's my bases. I have 2 of those. Okay. So there's my height. There's my 2 pi r. So here's my simplified formula: circumference times height plus 2b. Circumference, or this surface area, is going to be equal to 2 pi r h, because that's circumference, times the height, plus 2 of my bases, which is going to be 2 times pi r squared. So what is my lateral area going to be equal to? That is going to be equal to 2 pi r h, to find the area of the rectangle that forms the, that's the rectangle of the net. And then what is your surface area? Well, your surface area is going to be 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared, because we have 2 bases there that are both circles, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. So what variables do we have? We need to know our radius and we need to know our height. And we can find the surface area of all of these cylinders. So it says solve for the lateral and or surface area, leave in terms of pi. So let's go ahead and start that. The first thing I want you to do is acknowledge that it's a cylinder. And so how many bases do I have? I have 2. Here's my height between those 2 bases. And so it's going to be LA plus 2B. Okay, so my surface area formula is going to be, it's my circumference times my height plus 2 of the bases. So what is my circumference formula? My circumference is always 2 pi r. 2 pi r. I'm going to multiply that times my height, and I'm going to do 2 pi r squared, because the area of a circle is pi r squared. So let's go ahead and just fill that in. What is my radius? My radius is 5, so 2 pi 5 times my height of 10 between those 2 bases, plus 2 pi 5 squared. So again, whenever I'm going to be simplifying this, because I've got my, here's my circumference, there's my radius, and so I'm going to do 2 times 5 times 10. It says to leave it in terms of pi. And so when I do 2 times 5 times 10, I'm going to get 100 pi for my lateral area. How much lateral area do I have in these walls? If I were to unwrap this shape, I would have a height of 10, and then my circumference would be the width of that rectangle, and so that's going to be 2 times pi times 5. And so you can see where this formula comes from. So that's 100 pi centimeters squared for my lateral area. That's just the walls. And then how many bases do I have? I I have two bases. I have the circle on the top and the circle on the bottom. And so it's going to be 100 pi plus 50 pi for my two bases. So how much does that make total? 150 pi centimeters squared of surface area for this cylinder. So if this was a can of chicken noodle soup, that would be the surface area of the metal used to make that soup can. All right, let's do this again. Now this shape is turned on its side. So there's a circular base. Here is a circular base. Here's the height between those bases. And my radius on this shape, it's important to note, is going to be 7.5. So my diameter is 15 meters, but my radius is 7.5. So let's go ahead and fill this in. Surface area equals, I have my lateral area plus 2 of my bases. So surface area equals 2 pi RH plus 2 of my circular bases, which is 2 pi r squared, because I have 2 of those. And so we're going to fill in our radius. Our radius, of course, we just said was 7.5. We're going to multiply that by our height between the bases, which is 9. There's my height. Plus 2 pi times 7.5 squared. Okay, so let's type that in. My lateral area is going to be 2 times 7.5 times 9. I'm going to have 135 pi for my lateral area. 135 pi meters squared. Okay, so 135 pi meters squared. I don't know why that did that. That's kind of weird. Okay, that's fine. So 135 pi meters squared. And then what is my surface area? Well, I've got to add in the 2 times 7.5 squared. Pi. That's going to give me 112.5 pi. And so when I add those together, what is my total surface area? 247.5 pi meters squared. So 2, that is slowly dying. Okay, come on, come back to life. We've got to finish this video. Okay, surface area equals 247.5 pi meters squared. So that's my total surface area of this can of soup. All right, we're going to go ahead and do this last one, and we're going to save those word problems to start on Wednesday. Okay, so let's see. So let's go surface area equals, I have my lateral area, which is my walls, plus 2 of my bases. What is my radius? Since my diameter is 12, my radius is going to be 6, because I need my radius. Surface area equals my circumference, 2 pi r h, plus 2 of my bases, which is pi r squared. Surface area is going to be equal to 2 pi 6. What's my height between the bases? 15. Plus 2 of those bases. The area of a circle is 2 pi, or is 2, because I have 2 of them. And then the area of the circle is pi r squared, so pi 6 squared. So what is 2 times 6 times 15? That's going to be 180 pi for my walls of this cylinder, inches squared. But then I have to add in my 2 bases. So 2 times 6 squared gives me 72 pi. So there's my bases. I have 2 of those circles. 2 of those circles have a total area of 72 pi. So 72 pi. And so when I do 180 plus 72, I have a total surface area of 252 pi inches squared. And we will save, there we go. We will save those last problems to start with tomorrow. That's just whenever you're trying it on your own. But there is an assignment on the back of this sheet, so I want you to try those, and we will check those tomorrow.